Alright, so, ulitin ko ulit. Our topic for today is all about international trade policy. So, what are the following international trade policy? So, start tayo dito. Okay, so, as an introduction, so I will be introducing the classical trade theories, advocate for economic gain or from free trade. And also, they show free trade support for a higher level of domestic consumption and more efficient utilization of resources. Also, it explains how free trade stimulates economic growth and creation of wealth. But the political reality of international trade is different. Why? Because national government intervene in international trade to protect the interests of political and important person. So what are the following instruments of trade policy? So first, we have the tariff and the non-tariff barriers. So the non-tariff barriers is inclusive of subsidies, quota, voluntary export trains, local content requirements, and the others. So later, pag-aaralan natin sila lahat, pati meaning nila. So when we say tariff, this is the simplest form of and the oldest form of trade policy. It is a tax levied when a good is imported. So pag nag-import tayo ng product, kailangan may tax siya. Pag nag-export tayo ng product, tayo naman ang magbabayad ng tax sa kanila. The purpose of this is to provide the revenue for government and also to protect particular domestic sector. Example, no? Kukuha tayo ng guest product sa United States. Pag pumasok yan dito sa Pilipinas, meron yan tax. At para maprotektahan yung ating local domestic product, kailangan nating maglagay ng tax. So, we have two kinds of tariff. So, we have a specific tariff and ad valorem tariff. Okay, when we say specific tariff, these are fixed charge for each unit for good imported. At pag sinabi naman nating ad valorem tariff, this is levied as fraction of value for imported goods. Example, no, dito sa Pilipinas, ang ad valorem tariff natin for bulk products na ini-import natin is 30%. Ang tawag do sa 30% is ad valorem tariff. Trade in single industry. So we have assume that we have two countries like foreign and home, and we produce single product like wheat. Free trade or no transportation cost in each country, supply and demand are function of market prices. Another thing is the exchange rate remains the same. So, hindi nagbabago yung palitan o yung pag-buying and selling nila. So, hindi tumataas, hindi bumababa kasi nga free trade or no transportation cost. For trade, like for example, wheat can be exported from country with low price to country with high price until the price of different gets eliminated. Next, suppose that home price of wheat and foreign price of wheat, home import and foreign import of wheat. World equilibrium reaches when home import demand is equals to foreign export. So, kapag equal yung import at saka yung export, equilibrium siya. Or home demand minus home supply is equals to foreign supply minus foreign demand. It is equal. Home demand plus foreign demand is equals to home supply plus foreign supply is equal also. So, it is consists of world demand is equals to world supply. Pag equilibrium lang siya. Pag sinabi natin equilibrium, it is the state of equal free trade among countries, no? This is the process where demand is equal to supply. Next, cost and benefit of tariff. Prices, consumer, products, and government. Okay, bakit ba naapektuhan ng tariff ang price? Rise of importing country and fall of exporting country. Ano ba ibig sabihin nito? Tumataas doon sa nag-i-import yung presyo, pero bumababa naman doon sa nag-i-export. Example, no, ang gas. Sa Middle East, mura ang gas, 6 pesos lang. Pag nilabas na siya ng bansa, ang price niya ay tumataas. Another example, consumers. Loss of importing country and gain in exporting country. Loss, ibig sabihin, lugi siya kapag in-import. Pero mas magigain siya, mas kikita siya pag in-export. Example, tariff on foodstuff, cosmetic, and chemical costs of average Japanese consumer is about $890 per year in 1989. Next, producer gain import country and loss in export country. For producer, government gain revenue through tariff. Effect of tariff. Assume that an import tariff is dollar per unit of wheat at home, and for trade takes place, home price should exceed at least dollar from foreign price. Siyempre, foreign price na siya, mas mahal na, no? The result of this is price in home will rise and that foreign will fall. In home, consumer demand less for fewer import products. In foreign, producer gets lower price, so smaller export supply. Effect of tariff. It reduces overall efficiency of world economy by encouraging domestic firms to produce product at home which could have produced more efficiently abroad. The result is inefficient utilization of resources, like for example, car production in India before 1991. How are we going to measure the amount of protection na itatawag nating protect domestic producer? And how much protection a tariff actually provide? Usually, guys, it expressed as percentage of free trade prices. Ano yung percentage? Kapag volume ang volume ang in-import natin, meron tayong ad valorem tax na tinatawag. So, meron siyang proportion na babayaran natin doon sa gobyerno. For example, no, kumuha tayo ng product worth 7 million. Ang sabi ng ating law dito sa Pilipinas, kapag tayo ay nag-import, ang babayaran natin for tariff is 30%. So, 30% ng 7 million yung babayaran natin. Proportion lang siya. The effective rate of protection. The effective rate of protection measure the percentage effect of entire tariff structure on the value added per unit of output for each country. Tariff structure refers to the relationship among tariff in related industries. Value added is the difference between the selling price and the cost of intermediate goods, or value added is equals to PA minus PS and then small letter A. So, ano ba ibig sabihin nito? So, ito. The effective rate of protection is equals to value added with tariff minus value added with free trade divided by value added with free trade. Mamaya, pag-aaralan natin kung ano ibig sabihin ng PA. PA stands for finished good and PC stands for input component. So, ito ay value added is equals to finished good minus input component. So, paano nga ba kino-compute yung effective rate of protection? Meron tayong formula for that. The formula is ERP. Ito, hindi ko na bibigkasin. Where this one means value added in sector at world price. Where this one is value added in presence of trade policy. Where this one, or P sub A, is world price finished good, or P sub C is world price for input component, or T sub A is tariff rate for imported finished good, and T sub C is tariff rate for input component. Sabi nga, provided tariff does not affect the world price. Yung taripa naman kasi hindi talaga nakaka-apekto yung world price eh. Domestic price na apektuhan niya, pero yung world price hindi. Effective rate of protection. ERP can also be calculated using this formula, where ERP is equals to the nominal tariff of imported finished good minus the value imported tariff of a share value final good under free trade multiplied by the tariff imported inputs used in domestic producer divided by 1 divided by 1 minus, multiplied by 1 minus value imported inputs as share of value final goods under free trade. So what is important for this is for you to refer to Frankfurter's article for you to have an illustration regarding the effective rate of protection. Later, ibibigay ko yung example. Export tariff. Export tariff is levied on export of a product from a country. It is less common than import tariff. And one of the objective of this is to raise revenue for the government and to reduce export from sector usually due to some political reasons. Like for example, China. The tariff of China textile exports is more higher, and they gain through this kind of resources, no? Other instrument of trade policy include subsidies. Okay, when we say subsidy is a payment to a domestic producer. It can either be in a form of grant cash, low interest grant loan, tax break, and government equity. It also helps domestic producer to compete against the foreign market, gaining export market. Example, agricultural subsidy in US and Europe has 43% of gross farm receipt and almost $43. For Japan, we have 62% of gross foreign farm receipt. So, yung subsidies, ito is form of payment wherein pwede siyang cash, pwede siyang low interest loan coming from the domestic producer, pwede siyang tax break or government equity. Effect of subsidy. So, we have domestic producer gain. It increases international competitiveness. We also have the home country or government laws. We also have government laws. Government typically pay for subsidy by taxing individual or advocate for a strategic policy, a section of new trade jury in favor of subsidies to help domestic firms to achieve economies of scale. So, sa subsidy, para makapag-compete ka ng maayos sa mga kakompetensya mo in international market, pwedeng ang payment is in a form of cash, grants, or pwede kang umutang sa gobyerno. Another effect of subsidy is most subsidy protect the inefficient and promote excess production. Example, agricultural subsidy. It allows inefficient farmer to stay in the business. So, kung ikaw ay inefficient farmer, you are not allowed to join the market game. Number 2, encourage country to produce or to overproduce. Number 3, encourage country to produce product that can be produced more cheaply elsewhere and imported. And then for the last one, to reduce international trade in agricultural products. Dapat ganito na lang ang ginawa ng gobyerno, no, para tayo pa rin yung one of the leading players in rice sa Asia. Sadly, hindi ganon ang ginawa. Next, important quota. So, important quota, it is a direction or restriction of quantity of some goods that can be imported. Restriction are enforced through import licenses. Import quota are issued either individual or firm in exporting country or given directly to the government of exporting country. Example, United States has quota of cheese import license to U.S. trading company. Or sugar and textile import in US is given directly to government to exporting countries. So, yung import quotas kasi, ito yung nagbibigay tayo ng limitation or restriction sa mga bagay-bagay na pwede nating bilhin sa abroad. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng kuha tayo nakuha sa abroad na mga products na kailangan natin or resources na kailangan natin kasi baka malugi naman tayo sa GDP natin. Effect of import quota, so raise domestic price of imported goods, have same effect of tariff, revenue of government under quota system is import fee collected, quota rents o yung tawag nating profit received by the holder of import license. Quota rent yung rerentahan yung iyong lisensya para sa specific product na pwede mong i-import, no? O specific product na i-import mo sa bansa mo. The recipient of the quota rents depends on who gets the right to sell the domestic product, whether domestic firm or government of exporting countries. Next, we have the VER or voluntarily export restraint or VER. A VER is a variant import quota. So it's all about quota. VER is all about quota. A VER is quota trade imposed on exporting country side. Generally, it is imposed at the request of importer, and it is important quota assigned to foreign government. Like for example, limitation on auto export in the US is enforced by the Japanese automaker in 1981. Alam niyo kung bakit? Kasi Japanese people are one of the producers, no, of auto or yung mga car. At para makabenta sila ng maayos, so instead na sila yung tawag dito, sila ay ang US ay tawag dito, magi-import sa kanila. So nag-set sila ng VER o voluntary export restraint para malimitahan yung pag-i-import nila ng mga car o ng sasakyan sa mga Hapon. No? Another example is the Multi-Fiber Agreement or MFA to limit textile export from 32 countries. The effect of VER. Foreign producer agree to VER because they fear far from more damaging quantitative tariff of import quotas. VER is a way of making best of a bad situation wherein benefit domestic producers by limiting import competition. Domestic consumers are affected due to high domestic price for import goods and foreign supply is limited. Example, studies show that due to import quota, the price of sugar in the US has been almost 40% greater than the world price. It is very costly to an importing country than a tariff. Revenue under a tariff become rent earned for foreigners. So, sa VER, no, it is one of the best way for bad situation wherein nililimitahan mo yung i-import mo o export mo at nililimitahan mo din yung competition regarding products kasi alam mo yung mga bawat bansa may mga kanya-kanya silang may mga kanya-kanya silang in-export, in-import at kadalasan dyan nagkakaroon na pare-parehong product that can cause competition among countries. Local content requirements. A regulation that requires some specified fraction of final good be produced domestically. It is widely used by developing countries. For domestic producer of parts, these provide protection in the same way an import quota does. Example, Buy American Act specifies the US government must give the preference to American product that uses at least 51% of the material by value produced domestically. Does not produce either government revenue or quota rent. So, we have informal or administrative policy like bureaucratic rule. These are designed to make it difficult for import to enter the country. So, yung bureaucratic rule or law, ito yung naglilimit ng mga import sa bawat bansa. Example, Japan custom inspection ng tulip bulb from Netherlands and courier package of FedEx. France required that all imported videotapes recorder arrived should go through small custom entry point that was poorly staffed. The delay keeps Japanese VCR or video tape recorders out of French market. So, ito yung mga strategy para makalimit ng pag-import, no? Kasi the more na binibili natin yung sariling atin, the more na kumikita tayo. Anti-dumping policy or anti-dumping policy nga, yung tinatawag, or anti-countervailing duties. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng dumping? This is variously defined as selling goods in foreign market at below their cost of production. Ito yung pagsisell natin ng produkto pero mas mababa doon sa expected natin. O mas mababa talaga doon sa presyo natin, domestic price. Example, no? Yung bibili ka ng rice sa ibang bansa, pero mas mababa siya. Mas mababa yung price ng rice na yon kaysa dito sa ating domestic market. One of the effect nito is mas binibili yung mga foreign goods kaysa do sa domestic market. Sabi nga it is viewed as method which firm unloaded excess production of foreign market and it is substantial profit from their home market to subsidize prices in foreign market to drive indigenous competition out of the market. Diba? So, yung mga domestic players, nawawala sila sa market kasi mas mataas yung price nila compared sa international market. Anti-dumping policy are designed to punish foreign firms that engage in dumping, or anti-dumping duties are called countervailing duties. So, we have free trade efficiency. The efficiency of free trade or free trade eliminates distortion due to tariff and increased national welfare. Sabi daw, yung free trade daw, para daw sa ikabubuti ng lahat-lahat. It also protects market fragmentation internationally and reduce competition. So, ito din daw yung nakapagpababa ng competitions internationally, no? It also allow domestic market to narrow down firm inefficient scale of production. So, yung mga inefficiency of scale of production ng mga nagtre-trade, so nililesen niya to. Ito daw yung pinaka magandang advantage ng free trade. Also, for political arguments of intervention, it protects jobs of industry. It protects industry for national security also, or it retaliate the policy while bargaining of foreign market, implement patent law, and etc. So, it protects the patent law regulations of every products and services that is being exported and imported through other country. And also, it protects human rights for individual protecting country. Also, it protects consumer from unsafe products. So, example nito, no, yung mga produkto na galing China. Pag meron tayong political intervention, may pag-uusap, may tinatawag tayong naka-join ng Pilipinas sa mga associations, no, maproprotektahan natin yung interest ng mga mamimili. No, example, no, sa China, hindi bawal sa kanila yung lead. While here in the Philippines, may mga lead content lang tayo na pwede at naayon sa batas na nilagdaan ng ating gobyerno. No? So, kaayon sa paggawa ng batas na yan, ang BFAD, BFAR, custom, di ba? Another example nga dito, no, European Union banned the import of hormone-treated beef. Kung sa Australia ay okay to, sa New Zealand okay sa mamamayan neto, in other countries, in other nationality, hindi okay sa kanila to because it is treated beef, no? Wherein maraming chemicals na nilalagay dyan. Depende kasi sa arguments at kasunduan ng mga mamamayan ang paggawa ng batas regarding business law. Next, we have economic arguments for intervention. We have the infant industry arguments. So, these are the newly industry in the developing countries. They don't initially can compete with the other countries. And then we have the new trade theory and strategic policy. These are for firms that is engaged internationally because they are enjoying economic scale and mostly achieve their first mover advantage. So, for my discussion this afternoon, so I want you to answer this one. No? Number 1, do you think government should consider human rights when granting preferential trading rights to countries? And then for number 2, whose interest should be paramount concern for government trade policies and interest for producer or those of consumers. So these are the following questions that you need to answer, and then you have to write your answer on a pieces of paper, clean sheet of paper, tapos pipicturean ninyo at saka isisend nyo sa akin. The deadline for submission of this is until Sunday, 12 midnight. Thank you and see you again next meeting for another set of discussion. Thank you po.